we're talking with
Doug McCutcheon.
your role in Microsoft,
I'm the business manager for the Microsoft project business.
which means what, Dad?
Oh, I look after strategy in terms of how to drive the business forward now and into the future. So my role is predominantly looking at what we've currently got and then trying to figure out what direction we want to take for the next 3 to 5 years.
You're a PMP,
I am.
and here you're surrounded by your tribe.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of curious, what is it you found most effective for keeping up with those PMP credits that you have to get, those continuing education credits?
The way I keep up with the PMP credits is really attending events. I attend a conference or I attend training that's actually gives you the PDU count. So that's really how I keep up to date. And also, I'm fortunate enough to have a job which allows me to talk about project management on a regular basis. So in a way, I can count for those as well. So I'm pretty fortunate to be able to keep my PDO count current.
Are you using Microsoft Project on the job?
Yeah, absolutely. I obviously sell the product, but I also use it. The way I use it today is I use it to control my budgets. So I have a lot of vendors, I have budget, and I use Project really to help me keep track of those projects and make sure the spend's coming in on time. So I have a specific way of looking after it. I use cost-based project tasks, and I have a certain way of connecting POs up with resources who are my vendors to keep on going.
Are you using Project Server as well?
No, I actually, because I don't have an extensive team that I'm managing in terms of giving work and needing task feedback or resource pools, I'm just using it really as a personal productivity tool. So I use the client.
Given your hands-on background in project management, what do you see as the most interesting customer scenarios specifically for Project 2010, whether desktop or server?
I think in terms of interesting customer scenarios, I get exposed to a lot of customers, and I don't have a universal view on everything that's going out there, so I can just point out a few that I've found interesting over the last few years. I've certainly experienced innovation projects within the automotive industry. I think if you just look at the adverts on TV today, you can see that these companies are innovative. You're getting some of these basically gas-guzzling companies that you have this impression of pushing out hybrid cars, and they're getting a different type of message to conform to the latest economics. And we've got companies who use our products extensively to help them in that innovation process. So for me, that's kind of like an industry and a place where it doesn't want to be, wanting to get out into a place it wants to be, and using our technology to assist them in getting there. So that's been product lifecycle management is typically the buzzword that gets tied into that. That's the one I've been pretty interested in recently.
Innovation is supposed to be nimble and agile. What's the connection there?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head here. I mean, project management really is about risk. I mean, I always wonder why you get this persona of a project manager being pretty straight-laced and doesn't say a lot and pretty reserved, and I think it's because underneath the skin you're probably finding them going, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this project done? I mean, really what we're doing with the iron triangle, which is the schedule, the resource, and the scope, those three things that a project manager is trying to control and balance and get effectively their stakeholders to get them across the line to make them feel safe around what they're doing. Those are artifacts that we use to make people feel safe. But really, the project management to me is the art of creation. It's a new, novel endeavor, and it's a fascinating industry to be in because whatever you're doing, a project is creating something new. Therefore, it is unknown, and it's a question of managing the unknown, which is why I think project management is such an interesting discipline. I mean, it always makes me smile. You're sitting there on a major project, and previously I've been in project management for large customers and projects, and they sit there and you've got a 2-year project in front of you, and they say to you, can you tell me exactly how much you're going to spend and what date that you're going to come in on this project? So you make and you've got certain constraints, like if it's a date constrained project, for example, the Olympics, you can't do anything about that date. That's going to happen on that date. So therefore, you're going to have to juggle the quality issues and the resource issues to get there. But you make a sensible forecast. You manage the risk. You keep your stakeholders on board. And you make them make the valuable decisions you need to get to that point in time that you've got a successful project. And I'll just add something now. I think there's a lot of statistics about projects that have failed. I don't think a project fails if you didn't deliver the original outcome. if you got to the point where you made a legitimate decision to say, this project just wasn't worth doing, we tried it, we kicked it off, and we found out this just was not going to happen, then I think that's a successful end to a project. Didn't deliver what it was supposed to deliver, but everybody agreed it was a good time to kill it.
Common theme throughout your career, both at Microsoft and other companies you've worked at, has involved influencing third parties to get something done.
Yeah.
Can you provide any insights or advice there?
I have a certain view, and I think people may disagree with this view, but I just want to put it out there. I think project management is like being a politician. You don't have direct influence or authority over third parties, but you're all trying to get to the same point in time, or you're having to influence people to get to that point in time. So you're having to use negotiation, you're having to use persuasion techniques to get people across the line. And it's not just one person, it's several parties with individual commitments and basically sometimes conflicting ideals. So you basically have to maneuver around that map and get them right.
Any advice, any tips?
Listen and be sensitive. Those are the two things I would say. Keep your ears open, just pick up the emotional level of teams, the people you're working with. Put propositions out there. I mean, I do this technique of, it's not always agreeable with some people, but I sometimes take an obtuse position. And I'm taking an obtuse position not because I want to be obtuse, it's because I want to put something out there that people are going to disagree with. And if they disagree with it strongly enough, I know that there's something out there that I need to refine, because I don't start out with the impression that I know absolutely everything. In fact, I don't, because typically the IP, the intelligence, the actual formation of what needs to be out there is with third parties. I put it out there, say, right, this is the point, what do you think? And then they disagree and we move it to a point where it needs to be. So I find that technique pretty useful.
Okay, you've always been a supporter of MPUG.
Yes.
How are you planning on keeping the community happy in the coming year?
Well, specifically in terms of the way that Microsoft's structured, we obviously have Microsoft Corp. People are very familiar with that area. It's where Bill Gates used to hang out. That's where my team is. We have subsidiaries, so we're a bit like MPUG. We've got satellites all over the world. They have their own independent mandates. They've all got to match the market requirements they have locally. So, for example, I was in New Zealand subsidiary. I set up an MPUG chapter there to help me develop community, make sure that people who had projects had somewhere to go and talk to other people in a non-sales environment. I think that's the most important aspect, to talk to people about how they use it and basically share best practice. So my view is I'd like to see MPUG more aligned to subsidiaries locally, but when I'm looking at my team, we have Brian Rue, who you've interviewed, who might follow after this, who has specific commitments to make sure that the engagement between MPUG and Microsoft Corporation is a healthy one. So we're very happy about that. We value MPUG. Let's face it, we're licensing the name Microsoft to MPUG. That's how much we're committed to the user group, and we want you guys to be successful.
Doug, thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's been very interesting.